welcome back to WCS Spring Challenger Day 1 Europe. Got that all in there.
Edition.
Yes, and final series of the European edition. It's Nerchio versus Elazer, the ZvZ, to determine who makes it out alongside Cyril into the next stage. And I am joined by In Control once again for the ZvZ, as he is the ZvZ expert.
Yep.
Who's going to win this one?
It will be Elazer.
It will be, 100%.
2-1, unfortunately.
You think so?
No, 2-0.
Actually, I was kind of going with the 2-0 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it always feels so harsh to say that, but Nerchio has not been his former self for quite some time. He's always been searching for the series and the tournament that's finally going to bring him back, but it's fallen short every single time. Winter was not so great for him. Elazer, meanwhile, did make it to the round of 6, whatever you want to call it, and he didn't do poorly there. So I am with you. I think he does take this series, but hey, it's ZvZ, and maybe we'll get 25-minute long ZvZs. Maybe Year Zero won't be the first map. And it'll be Ling Banling Wars, which maybe Nerchio, I don't know. Actually, I think he'd lose that portion as well. I just apparently am really biased against Nerchio, but man, he's a cool guy. Okay, like he's a fun player, but it's just there's so many good Zergs in Europe. It's just the way it is.
It's not even just the Zergs. Their scene has just gotten pretty brutal. Like there's just a few rock walls. Like if you hit Raynor, you hit Cyril, you're probably absolutely going to lose. So there's some players that catch red hot, like Thermal. Showtime, I know we haven't seen his top-tier self in a little while, but when that guy's playing really well, there's like 3 people in the world that can beat him, or 4 maybe. You know, it gets to this point where the European scene's like, okay, there's like 6 or 7 spots that are just spoken for. You guys fight for the other 1?
Yeah.
4 or 5 maybe? It's brutal. So Nerchio's still very good. He's qualified for Challenger over players that are fantastic that did not make it. It's just that he, faces a Cyril, and now he's facing a Elazer, a guy that's been in the round of 4 in BlizzCon a couple of times. It's like, I don't know. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Well, that's what he's going to find out. That's what he's going to figure out. As his approach versus Harsum was to play into that super late game, and that's all well and good. He also played a super late game versus Cyril in the first series of the day, right? And that actually wasn't so bad.
No.
But Cyril is going to outclass basically everyone in that late game ZvZ. That's literally what he was proving against the Koreans at BlizzCon, and yeah, that was not an unexpected result, but maybe Elazer also wants to play that late game, maybe underestimates Nerchio, and that's when things happen. Maybe Nidusworms make a play again, as they did in the previous game we just saw, and something happens there. But man, I feel this is very uphill. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's like a dozen people out there that's like, Nerchio's going to 2-0 this guy. If you're right, then I'll give you $5.
Yeah,
5 esports dollars.
Yeah, you can't give him real money. That'd be expensive. It will be Year Zero as the first map, and I've always said this. For me, when I was a pro gamer, this is something I really struggled with. I went into a lot of series as the underdog, obviously, and in this case, Nerchio is the underdog. Not so much so that he needs to like reinvent the wheel, but if he does the same thing against Cyril, which is what this map kind of asks you to do, is get into the late game. It was like okay, and then it hit this threshold of like every choice was just slightly worse for him. The game kind of got further and further behind, and it got to a point where it was like you can't win anymore. You're just going to lose in the next 5 minutes. So I'm kind of worried for that. Like if you go into this one against Elazer, who's again a better player than Nerchio, and I don't mean any disrespect, he's just literally one of the absolute best players behind Raynor and Cyril. You will just get outclassed, most likely. So if you don't mix it up, show some mutas, go heavy on the mutas, hide some, like show 6 and then actually build 30, something weird like that, I feel like you just lose.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Year Zero, as you said, first map, does ask for those later games. It also can bring forth some muta games, and mutas might be what mixes things up. I mean, I always love seeing muta play. Raynor vs. Cyril in that series for Winter was really cool, even if a lot of the games were like one-sided. Yeah. And Nerchio has shown that he's willing to play with mutas and even like really push the muta agenda with melee upgrades.
The muta agenda.
So maybe that's what throws Elazer off, but yeah, I think Elazer's been tested against the greats European Zergs and has proven himself against most of them. Cyril, of course, just 2-0'd him, but still, I think he might be feeling comfortable. But still, might be feeling comfortable against this guy. No, actually, I spawned on a different guy.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
Oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. No, it's this guy who's feeling comfortable. It's the red Zerg, Elazer.
That's my quote of the day, by the way. I spawned on a different guy. I want to see like your picture grayed out, those words. That's the new mouse pad, man.
Can you describe how I spawned?
Yeah, well, that's where the fanfic comes in for sure. And then you introduced Elazer, right? This is really important. The top right-hand side, sponsored by an energy drink company from Poland, later would give birth to Raynor. It is the Zerg player Nerchio.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that he's no longer sponsored by.
He's still weird. Oh, you know what? You might be right.
And you think he's on Team Makers, which is why that's the logo there. But
True.
as we know, very rarely does Blizzard mess up anything on those graphics.
No.
Or on the ticker.
No.
So
doesn't happen very often.
Just happens once or twice. Anyways.
It's also on the internet, so if you see the picture, just believe it. That's what I would do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's maybe not so important. But yeah, shout out Team Makers, because you are important. Thank you. Actually, kind of a new team.
Yeah.
Picking up a lot of the good European players. But, all right, so ZvZ on this map. Both these guys have faced Zerg on this map, and both of them went super late game. So that's what I'm expecting here. I guess Nerchio did that, like, fast third, right? But that didn't really do very much.
No, it was funny. And that's, maybe if I can remember to do it, I'd love to grab... Because that's one of the fun things about ZvZ, is it used to really be that way. I don't know if it was the maps because there were 4-player maps or they were shorter or what. Obviously, the patches were different, but we see pool first versus hatch first. We see 3 hatch versus just a normal opening. And it feels like the Zergs really still land at the same spot no matter what. Like the Queen, if you go later, that's bad. If you go earlier, that's good. And then they just equalize from either direction. It's like crazy.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like that, we would see there was a point where, well, in the beginning of Legacy of the Void, it was all early pools, and a lot of Zergs were even fighting for an increase in like Overlord movement speed because it was so dangerous and so good. But then there was a point where there's also a lot of fast 3 hatches, and unless you like all in from that point and kind of surprise the other player who's like, no, I thought you were macroing, it didn't seem to make too much of a difference.
No.
But we do have a big difference in this game here. An Evolution Chamber is thrown down by Nerchio very quickly. They both are going for third bases. It's not going to be something that Elazer can tell is going on unless he actually gets into that main base with a scout, which neither one of them were eager to do that. None of them sent their lings forward. Not yet anyways, maybe when speed actually finishes. And that is going to be happening soon. Elazer first to make a decent number of lings. Nerchio should be following shortly. Obviously, the +1 carapace is going to help in the future, but like long in the future. So it's got the match ling for ling.
I do like the carapace upgrade. It's, of course, kind of the non-committal one. Melee, very much so, only favors lings and makes them just kind of a different animal. But carapace, you can go roaches from there, hydras, everything. Even the lings benefit. Baneling won't blow up a whole pack of Zerglings, excuse me. Instead, it'll just kind of reduce them down to 1 hit. A little bit of an skirmish back and forth as both players are just kind of probing out each other's builds here. And you can see it's very similar, except that our blue Zerg here, Nerchio, is going to have carapace eventually.
Eventually. So that's a scout on the Baneling next, which it's kind of expected. But there's the scout on the Evolution Chamber. Now, it's still possible that this is like a +1 melee.
Yeah.
That's something you can tell unless you actually click on the unit when it's done, I believe. But
whoa.
+1 melee, actually speaking of, is something that Elazer goes for.
Yeah.
Like quicker than you would usually maybe see upgrades, but obviously not as quick as Nerchio's.
This harass has done a lot. So Nerchio's trying to get something done on the other side of the map, and he gets a little bit. But it's actually an 8-worker difference in favor of Elazer, and he's going to spot this Baneling morphing here as well. It's all happening before carapace, so it's kind of an anti-timing. Like that upgrade becomes dead weight until it clicks over, which we've talked about since Wings of Liberty. But it is a big deal. It's a very strong StarCraft concept. And you can kind of see it taking shape here. Elazer, again, still working with a 6, well, of course, back and forth worker lead, but then a pretty significant army advance here as well. Oh my god, just before carapace.
10 seconds to carapace. Obviously, if you try and take a fight after hitting a Baneling, even with carapace, it's going to go poorly for you, but that's literally a chance that you run away and heal and can defend, for instance, this counter that Elazer now is going to initiate. He has so many more lings than his opponent. At the very least, he's going to force Nerchio to make his own lings or own Banelings, thus hitting into that drone count, which is once again heavily in favor of Elazer.
I love how cautious he's being about it, too. He's taking different... Oh, Nerchio keeps getting hit by these Banelings, but he's taking different pathways to this third base that's under attack right now, so he doesn't get hit by these Banelings. But he spreads out, says, go ahead, use your Banelings against me, as long as I don't give you a big clump. Even just getting the Banelings to exhaust themselves on individual Zerglings is favorable to Elazer.
Absolutely. He noticed that there were no Lings to support that. The Queens can't really help out because there's only like not even one extra. And Elazer is going to go for the trades. +1 Carapace, be damned. He's +1 melee is close to finishing, but really it's just numbers right now. And he's taken out every single Baneling of Nerchio. One more is about to finish, but that's going to be it. Does he have enough Lings? It looks like it with the Queen support, so we're not going to see the game end here. But Nerchio was significantly down in drones for quite a while.
Yeah.
Just now bumping himself up above Elazer's.
I think, unless I just missed it, I don't think Nerchio has a lair. So
No.
the lair of Elazer finishes. He'll probably go into Spire. Honestly, he can go any direction he wants to, though. And Nerchio's like frozen in the Stone Ages. These Lings, they just have Carapace, but that gets equalized with a +1 melee for the most part. There's not much he can do.
This is a decent run by a lot of,
Yeah, I don't know why the drones are
like
fighting.
all of the units of Elazer were on the other side of the map, and the awkward pop of the larva didn't really work out in Elazer's favor. So he loses 6 drones, but also deals 6 drones worth of damage. And if you check the income graph, Elazer has still been winning the income war for the entire time. As you pointed out, that layer's already done. Interesting choice to add on +2 melee from all things you can get off that layer. Nerchio goes for that Roach Warren, is usually maybe a little more standard of a follow-up, but he also invested in the Carapace, which helps Roaches. So Elazer is going to have a lot of Lings, and I would say eventually Aspire.
Yeah.
But just focusing on the Ling Wars right now.
It's weird that he's just not doing. He's just constantly got the money to do it. He might just win this game off of Lings here in a few moments, but the +2 melee seals the deal. You really don't go anywhere else but Spire from there, and there is that Spire. Just really could have been started quite a while ago.
Yeah, it could have. He was banking a little bit for that. So he's safe to get to Aspire, which is always that difficult thing to read into. This game a little more obvious because he does have the pressure applied to his opponent, but he knows exactly when he would be under attack, and it's not going to be anytime soon. So the Spire is going to be accessible. He's going to be able to get a decent number of mutas because he'll save up all this gas and minerals. And even if Nerchio were to immediately make into Roaches, he wouldn't have Roach speed, and we're on like the biggest map, so it wouldn't hit any decent timing.
You have to go all the way back to Home Story Cup for this comment, but it's one of my favorite things that I've heard a fellow pro gamer say about Elazer in this case. Lambo talked about the overpopulation of Overlords that Elazer does.
Oh, yeah.
He's at 90 out of 146, and I know this because he just lost an Overlord, and I looked down, I'm like, oh, he's got a ways to go. Then you look at the production tab, he's making 3 more.
Never going to be supply blocked.
No! If you can supply block Elazer, you're doing very, very good.
What's funny, too, is that it might make a lot of sense. Ooh, 4 drones, not bad. It might make a lot of sense for Roaches, which fill out supply very quickly, but it's like taking Lings and mutas into account is going to take quite a while and up to 170.
This is just a thing. This is like literally just a flaw in his play, which is fine. It's a good problem to have, is that you make too many Overlords as opposed to too few.
That's kind of the perfect situation right there. Elazer got Banelings in to weaken a lot of drones and not kill them, and then the Lings flood in and get 11. So that's really nice. Nerchio is, I hate to say it so early, but it really feels he's going to lose this game. He has no way to apply pressure, and now he will have no way because mutas are out. So he'd have to buy time to Hydras, which maybe is doable, but then he also is going to be denied his 4th base for a long time, or at least that would be Elazer's one of his goals. But I mean, the earlier you take it, the earlier you have that creep spread, maybe you can put a Spore Crawler up. So that's what Nerchio is trying to do now. But can he actually get that 4th base up and running?
Right. I think that is the question, and I agree with you. I don't see how it happens. He's going to walk the Queens over there. The danger is if they're off that creep or even at that ramp, the mutas alone, no, they don't win the fight, but a Ling surround on those Queens and the mutas, yeah, they'll go ahead and get the job done. +2 melee has finished. These Lings are more savage than what we're used to seeing. We see +1, but +2 this early is something different. And it is going to be more mutas from Elazer, and I was calling for this earlier. On this big map where mobility is such a strength, I love it. A little sloppily losing a couple of... He's going to actually lose a 3rd muta just for that. What was that, a Roach?
That was a Baneling.
A Baneling even?
I mean, that would make a lot of sense if he was running in with a bunch of Lings, but he is entirely transferring over into Roaches. Yeah. There's a few extra, sprinklings of mutas, but the Lings are kind of done with, which for investing in a +2 is a little surprising, but onto the safer choice. Now he's going to have a better economy. He's had a better economy. He's going to continue to with the presence that the mutas provide, even with Nerchio getting that 4th base, which is great. It's the start of a good game for Nerchio. But guess who's going to max out faster? Who's going to remax easier as well with what is turning into a pure Roach army. Even some drop Overlords on the way here to really tear Nerchio apart.
Love it. And like you said, that map control was a big issue earlier on, and you can see that right now. When a Zerg knows that they don't have any threat out on the map for a base, it's just pure drones, not worrying about making spore crawlers or spine crawlers. Like you said, with that funny enough overpopulation of overlords, it's just a clear path of Elazer just holding down the roach key and making as many roaches as he can.
He is going to include... Okay, no, he went for centrifugal hooks and then decided not to. So maybe determining that the timing for like a roach baneling swamp wouldn't actually be decent enough. It may be hard to read in exactly how much Nerchio can afford in supply right now, but we know it's, you know, a huge difference. Maybe hard to read for Elazer. It's going to go into, again, the safer option. So the Hydralisk Den, the infestation pit for a hive. We could maybe see Greater Spire, but that's a very dangerous thing to do in ZvZ because of Viper abducts. But Nerchio could be thinking, well, he knows about the roach swap, so he might not be thinking about hive for quite some time. He's more worried about getting lurkers and playing, again, defensively.
And trying to get those lurkers out. This drop will not do anything for the most part. Except for die. Now this big swath of army is coming over here, and Elazer does have the army advantage. Upgrades are kind of interesting. It's a carapace upgrade versus +2 melee, which is largely missing from this army. But here we go. He's going to jump on top of this, and Crossbows do land on the back lines over there. Not a great spot for the concave. Better for Nerchio on the defense.
Yeah, not so bad. Nerchio barely getting the supply up to Elazer in that last 10 seconds. Otherwise, he was quite low, and he also has some infestors. Transfuses can help.
Oh.
But this, I mean, this doesn't look like all of his army, but I guess it is. Hydra supporting and Queens, Elazer is being pushed back.
Yeah, he did have to fight back there. Nerchio gonna get a little bit of link counterattack back over here. He has the army to go ahead and push over. The problem I'm seeing, though, is that he's getting kind of picked apart. And the Crossbows are landing. They're not making for the most impactful win just yet, but 9 drones die in the background, and even an infestor getting caught out.
Yeah. The tricky thing is that Elazer will always have that option. Larva might be an issue, but he'll have an option to go for lings that actually will have very powerful run-bys.
Yeah.
With that +2, so that's going to make Nerchio's 5th base grab, for instance, very difficult to do. And Elazer has taken, I mean, he's been comfortable on 4 bases. Maybe he could have taken a 5th, but he is taking tech. He is going for upgrades, Lurker Den, Hive, immediately probably into the Lurker upgrade for their burrow speed, and is going to, again, have another swamp attempt at Nerchio. Nerchio's just holding on, hoping for the resources lost to go in his favor and really drag this game out. But Elazer is the one that has opportunities to kind of throw bodies at him.
Yep, army is busted through. It's making its way over here. Pretty good force on both sides, actually. Nice defense from Nerchio, as he will be able to push this back. I do like the infestors, by the way. It's something we've been missing out on. I prefer lurkers, of course, but infestors do add to this. That was an interesting choice.
I think that was on purpose, and then he realized it was a mistake.
Yeah, the detection was there.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate. Upgrades have evened out. It's just that Nerchio was a little late maybe to responding, but he does now respond with the rest of his army. And Elazer, dragging a little bit with reinforcements, will be pushed back. Also pushed into his own 4th base, but are there enough Hydras to deal with the mutas?
What's going on here? Nerchio's up in army supply by quite a bit. He's shoving into this lower half of the map, and the mutas are actually going to fall. And if not fall, they're going to get to dramatically kind of low numbers where they're not a super hard counter to these roaches.
You know what? I think Nerchio is actually... he's done... I mean, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He got to the 4th base. He played defensively. He hoped Elazer would get overconfident and throw too many resources at him, and that's exactly what Elazer did. He split poorly at the end of the day, so his 4th base got under attack. He lost a lot of his own units and doesn't have as much of a bank as maybe he could have had he not done the previous 4 attempts at attacking.
Yeah. Both players hilariously working on similar upgrades. It will be that 2 carapace, though, that Elazer's working on that'll see some advantage here. In the midst of this, though, Nerchio was droning up fairly significantly, so yes, he's got the bigger army, but just so, and it's moving out here. Viper's coming out for Elazer. Do we have how many lurkers? None?
None yet. They
Which
both
is weird.
have lurker dens.
Yeah.
3 are finishing for Elazer, but because that attack happened the time I mentioned he might go into the lurker speed, he kind of can't afford it. Like, he could, but it would. It's no longer that safe bank that he just gets all the upgrades, right? So he does get the Vipers, and that's great, but he is being harassed, and he only has 3 lurkers anyways. Like, they're not the most impressive amount.
Not going to be the absolute shutdown. Lots of drones have died, so it is Nerchio that I think wins the harass war here in the end, and by doing so gets middle map control. Vipers coming out for both sides like we talked about, but still no lurkers for Nerchio, which I do think is a weird choice. Because I would love his army with Vipers and lurkers. As it is right now, it's still good, but he's going to like get to a fight and be like, oh, you have lurkers, I guess I have to pull back and wait for like 3 minutes.
Well, that might be why he didn't wait for his own lurkers, right? He saw that he had momentum and wanted to continue to pressure, and if you wait for lurkers, then that's actually pretty long. So now that maybe he's realized he won't get like a swift victory or a swift kill on a 5th or 4th, he does go on his own lurkers. He also adds in that speed for the lurkers, which just makes repositioning them so darn easy. And while he might lose his 5th, okay, now he's just gonna lose his 5th. That kind of unfortunate.
Good positioning over here, though, but the lurkers show up again. And this is now the lurkers, though, of Nerchio show up as well. And it's a good spot. They're right on top of this base. Really
nice. Nerchio is missing his own Overseer, so he can't take down the 2 lurkers that are bothering him. But yeah, that's Elazer's. But he is holding his position for now. Here come the Vipers. Blinding Cloud, they were pretty clumped up, and that will be done with. But an attack on the south side as well is going favorably for Nerchio. Yeah, he just dug into a lot of Hydras right there, so an expensive loss for Elazer, and his lurker goes down. Did Nerchio just break Elazer?
Well, he's also got some lurkers up here at that top base, so I do think so. Yeah, this base should fall. Down to the hatchery, the drones are dead. He's down to 35 workers, so even as he remakes this, it's that same problem we saw earlier where it's like, okay, you can defend, but you're so far behind economically that if the aggression continues to go back and forth like this, you just can't afford to deal with it.
Yeah, I think Nerchio has done it. He managed to grab, well, is grabbing, I suppose. He just started at 5th base in a more forward position. The Mutas, okay, they finally were just like killed off. There's only one of them left. It's kind of worthless supply. I mean, they got that 5th base, that's great, but they weren't really helping otherwise. Nerchio up 40 army supply, 20 workers. Looks like he was unable to get that hatchery from Elazer, but there's not much to saturate 5 bases for our Red Zerg. So that's, he's going in a, you know, just, can I live? You know, the roles have been reversed. Can I live any longer? So he's going to go for maybe more lurkers and more Vipers and just try and hold on.
Funny enough, this Muta actually helps Nerchio. It's like, hey, got some drones over here, bud. Get them to work. And now we have another push here at 12 o'clock. But like you said, Elazer finds himself in a spot where he's like, I need to hold on for 3 or 4 minutes. And it's going to be off the strong positioning of lurkers. But this map, there's just so many places to move. And you can see down on the south side, Nerchio has found an open base again, and this is a super dead base. Yeah, and he has lurker burrow speed, so that the repositioning, the aggressive tactics of lurkers will actually work out really nice for Nerchio, as opposed to be like maybe lagging behind because of them. Elazer, a little desperately, tries to gain momentum on the top side, but finds himself against spine crawlers with mostly Hydras. Yeah. He has not had the ability to make many lurkers. Those 2 don't hold. And that's going to be it for game number 1. Nerchio has actually done it. He brought it back from a difficult position and then showed real command of the late game. Yep. As the hatchery goes down, even just somehow dislodging this force will be so expensive. I don't know if it'll happen. The Roachhorn could die here as well, which is not the biggest of deals. We're not making a whole lot of those right now. But he's down to 28 workers versus the 60. The world is Nerchio's oyster. He can make any choice from here if he wants. He could be like, you know what? Gonna make Lings again, and it would be like, that's pretty bad, but you'll probably still win from there because the counterattack potential is really strong. And someone will like write a blog about like the choice to go Lings at the end there. But Elazer's gonna hold on. This is the decider match. Loser of this is out of WCS spring. You'll have to go to Kiev and fight through the grueling open bracket, which will be again filled with fantastic European players. It's not a place you want to be. Yeah, anyone who doesn't make it through gets a seat in, gets transportation provided, all that is probably still going to go if they live in Europe. Yeah. So that's going to be difficult to do. Not impossible for a guy like Elazer, but he is not willing to admit defeat, not just in the decider match, but against a guy that he probably maybe thought he was favored against, and from a position that he was certainly ahead in. Yeah. It's a hard pill to swallow. It's tough. And it's been tough for Elazer, excuse me, as well. So he's not done in the series yet. I'm not going to like write his obituary, but as Zombie just said, Nerchio's very good, but Elazer's supposed to be the new hotness. He's supposed to be the guy that's, you know, up there in the top 3 or 4 of Zergs in Europe, which means top 10 of the world for Zergs. And right now, he's getting beaten by a guy that's been doing this since Wings of Liberty. Yep. GG.
But I guess that just goes to show that you don't underestimate someone who has been around, who has been still making this a career. 2018 wasn't his best year for Nerchio, that is, but it still wasn't a terrible year.
Yeah.
He was still placing.
No, he's always there, right?
Yeah.
Which is incredible, while being a student and having other things going on.
It was winter, right? The previous tournament that was the huge question mark. Like, okay, where is Nerchio? He just bombed out of his group. What's happening here? But that has really changed perspectives. Nerchio didn't just win a late game ZvZ, did it by coming from behind. So that's, I'm glad to see it. And we painted the picture pretty grim. And maybe oh, on a Nerchio hate train. Absolutely not. It's fantastic to see it, but Elazer is supposed to be the new, third or fourth dominant Zerg in Europe. For him to get out of this, or, well, get out of the third, I suppose, but still, point is, lose at a challenger would be a shock.
Would be. Big upset. I always like to, when we talk about Nerchio like an old man, I think he's like 26 or 7. He just
yes.
been playing forever.
But that's like caster age, Jeff. Like that's super old.
It's getting way up there.
Yeah. This is one of the last battles. It was kind of funny to see Elazer try his heart out for this battle, and it's like, yeah, maybe you can do it. And then Nerchio has 50 extra supply on the north side. It's like, no, never mind. You can't do it.
And their banks aren't, the bank of Nerchio's not massive, but like you said, he's got 50 supply there, so it will be him that's still generating income and being like, well, I'll remake that. Whereas Elazer goes into the fight down 50 supply and doesn't have a 5k bank to just instantly remax with everything. So
yeah.
And Zerg vs. Zerg is a bloody matchup, right? When you're fighting lurkers, this is something that Terrans and Protoss know. You very rarely get to kill them for free. I think Abduct is about as close as you can get to it. But very often you're fighting lurkers, you're losing stuff no matter what. And when you're just behind economically, the game becomes a little bit of an accounting battle.
Yes. Should be an Olympic sport, accounting battle.
I think so. That'd be amazing.
I don't know. There was a movie that tried to make accountants look cool by making him an assassin. And it still wasn't that cool.
Not Matt Damon. What's Ben Affleck?
Yes, exactly.
The accountant, actually.
That's what it was called. Yeah.
But I think they didn't try to make accountants look cool. That was his cover.
I know, but
he's an autistic accountant assassin. It's
still.
I think we're talking about the assassin part.
I mean, now we're all supposed to maybe wonder if our accountants are secretly assassins.
I do not, but that would be a cool world to live in.
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
All right, we're heading into, I was going to say neo repugnancy, but it's new. Has it always been new?
Yes, it has always been new.
Wow.
Neo is the cool,
yeah,
futuristic way of saying new.
That's how we say it in StarCraft, I thought.
Yeah, well, there's Neo. I can't think of any Neos right now. There's Neon Violet Square.
Oh my God. I like the tile though. That map was cool, color-wise.
The Neon Violet Square?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But I know there's been other Neos. I literally can't think of any right now. Perfect. When you think of how many maps there have been in StarCraft in what is going to close 9 years?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's been 9 years, actually.
It has.
9 years and in 5 months or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that's a lot of maps to remember. So, just excuse me. We are getting into new repugnancy, which I thought repugnancy was a interesting word. I learned so much from StarCraft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Teaches us a lot.
Yeah. I know that there are other European countries except Germany and France. Yep. Finland is apparently a country. Wouldn't have known that without StarCraft.
Well, so to be fair, Finland is a village inside of Sweden. So is most of those countries over there. Switzerland was one of the bigger cities in Sweden. They made this they kind of annexed themselves to their own country. If you ask Kevin about it too, they're a little bit prickly, the Dutch people, but the Netherlands as well is actually a fishing village off of Sweden.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, as an American, I think that sounds right.
Well, the Swedes have a king and queen. These other places do not, so they all kind of fall under their kingdom.
What accent was that supposed to be?
Swedish.
Swedish, okay.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
In the bottom left, down one, surprisingly, it is the red Zerg Elazer.
And this is gut check time. If he's been struggling before, losing here to Nerchio would be pretty rough. Speaking of which, in the top right-hand side, from Poland, it's the man, the myth, the legend, Nerchio.
We got the Polish guys battling it out.
Yep. winner of a few home story cups, legendary battler of Pult, who has recently come back too. It's got to be a very exciting time to be a StarCraft fan. Pult came back. Gumiho's winning with Mech. Maru wins his 4th GSL. And yet, and here's the funny thing, after everything I just said, Terran still complained. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
Yes, yes I can.
Yeah, I can too.
Yeah. I mean, when there's like 7 Protoss.
That's the part that I like, though. They're like, well, yes, we win the tournament, but I don't like that we have to step over Protoss to get there. And I'm like, that's like only in StarCraft do we make these complaints, right? Like, I'm trying to think of another world where, you know, I get what I want, but I didn't like how much effort or what I had to deal with to get there.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's like most of the world.
Yeah, but they whine too much, right?
Okay. I think TLDR, Terran just whine too much is what we're getting at.
Or humans do, though. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe.
The greater picture here.
Actually, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
You know, like, Terrans are humans. And we do whine a lot.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Did you know that the, what is the government called? The Confederate? It's a confederacy, but I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's like, it's
Arcturus Minx.
It's basically Australia. We sent all of these, like, southern, like, prisoners away in space. And we're like, go fend for yourselves.
Yeah, I guess the slight difference is that they became, like, warmongers and kind of predatory and evil in StarCraft, whereas Australians became, like, the loveliest people you could ever meet. Like, they're just, like...
I mean, the difference is that they went to Australia and they were like, we should be mean to each other, but oh my God, that spider's really huge.
Yeah.
So how about we just be nice to each other? There's not, you know, not enough terrifying things out in the universe, I suppose. So
I like that.
Yeah, Terrans became nasty, self-hating people.
What if that's the secret to a healthy society, though? Is you send them to, like, basically a death world, kind of, and then things are so bad that it's like, well, we only have each other.
Yeah. Friendship forged in fire.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And spiders.
Exactly. Yes.
Drop bears.
Yes, and kangaroos that will apparently punch you.
Yeah, and it's not even that they punch you. They hold you while they claw you out with their talons on their feet. You know, when we were handed, like, cute stuffed animals, they neglected to include that part. They like, disembowel you. They hold you in a headlock and disembowel you.
Well, now I know more about Australia being scary. Cool, 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 cool.
Sometimes they have a pouch with their baby in it, too, and they're just like, hang on, honey, I gotta gut this human. And you're
I was going to say, I mean, if you're at least facing the pouch so you can see, like, a cute baby kangaroo watch you die, like, that's...
Worst ways to go.
Yeah, that's okay. So we do have evolution chambers again here, but at a time that might, like, I'm going to hold off here and say that it might not be for anything Ling-based. They might just be, like, prepping to go into roaches, but we're going to see literally in a couple seconds. But the Ling War going in favor of Nerchio initially, as the Banelings were a tad late there by Elazer. Yeah, +1 missile starts, and I think that's going to be the same thing for Elazer.
He's going to go for the Serral Baneling bomb here, but as long as these queens turn around, it's exactly right. Oop! Connect with the 4. Oh, they only got 2 for 2. Good Ling surround there on the queen, but not good enough as they don't get the queen herself, making their way into the main.
Good scout. Scout.
10 more Lings coming out, by the way, for Nerchio behind us, so he's going to remain committed. He is the original Ling run-by guy, by the way. Before there was a Raynor and Serral, where we always talked about that, it was always Nerchio that had Lings running through your base, causing mayhem. Yeah,
that's true. So not a lot more emphasis on the Lings. Just making some to make sure that Elazer's counter, I suppose, wouldn't do very much. Elazer didn't even bother really countering, so I'll use them somewhere else. But Roach Warrens for both. A Lair for Nerchio. None yet for Elazer, but considering he's still droning, yeah, there goes the Lair. So no hatchery-based all-ins here. And we get a Roach vs. Roach War, which does change things up drastically. Like last game, Elazer did find himself ahead based off Lings, and that's great. But obviously things started to get fumbled a little bit. You know, the Mutas, you look back on it, they really didn't do a whole lot. They didn't stop that 4th base. They didn't allow Elazer to, like, take over the map. So now we get the more standard Roach to Roach. You know, I'll get a 4th base when you get a 4th base. Maybe this is where Elazer feels comfortable once again. But it just, I mean, I hope his mentality is doing okay after that last game, considering how it went.
Yeah. And what he's facing. Like I said, he is one of those guys that will kind of tweet immediately after and talk about how it's tough and disappointing and he wants to work hard. And I'm not bemoaning him that. I'm just saying that he's an emotional guy that cares about his results and what people think about his results. These guys wear their hearts on their sleeves. So the Elazer up against it here. Nerchio, on the other hand, doesn't make those tweets, by the way. He's kind of this guy's like, yeah, happy to qualify. Give me the money.
Nerchio is actually one of the fascinating, I think, developments. You can watch, this is like a movie, and you can watch his character develop through StarCraft. Because 7 years ago, some people even kind of hated him, just straight up.
A little bit of a rapscallion, that guy.
A little bit. But then he became, when he got signed up for Red Bull for that time, he became, really good on social media. At least he did social media, which is actually sometimes a lot to ask. And just a real much chiller guy. So that's why I'm glad to see that he is doing well here. But it would be quite a disappointment for Elazer, as both of them still in a very close game here. Nerchio starts that +1 Carapace a decent bit faster, something that maybe could affect a battle.
You know, same thing said a different way, by the way. It would be very disappointing for Elazer to lose, of course, but if you looked at this group with Hearthstone, Elazer, Serral, and Nerchio, and you told me that it was Serral and Nerchio that made it out, that would be pretty cool. That would be a huge accomplishment for Nerchio. One of his bigger ones in recent history, I would say, because, again, Elazer and Hearthstone, these are not, entry-level European players. Hearthstone's on the short list of top European Protosses, and Elazer's way up there as a Zerg, so be a big deal.
Nerchio, it feels like he's getting this mid-game started a little bit faster. That doesn't mean a lot, one Roach battle goes a little askew and suddenly it's pretty much back to even, but I do like that he's gotten the faster upgrade, right? Obviously a great thing to have, but also going faster into the Tunneling Claws. That does impact his army supply, kind of directly here, but not so much, and they both aren't really posturing in the middle of the map to even take these fights around some of these timings. So Nerchio should just be able to start his own harassment, not just with drop overlords, but also with Burrow.
Yeah, both players opting for this, and they're both pretty well known for it. I would say especially Elazer, the drop overlord thing is, if an overlord's making its way over to your base, or certainly 4 or 5, you kind of assume. And that's why he's held back on the army, has Nerchio here. But he's going to load up his own overlord and try to do the same thing. This is something that Zombie Grub talked about earlier, but army composition-wise, it is strictly just that kind of classic... Oh, well. I mean, it's going to die anyway, so go ahead. It's Roach Ravager, right? There will be Tunneling Claws in play here in a moment, but otherwise, it's just that army, which used to be the only thing we saw.
Yes, yeah, and people weren't even that great with it either for a time there, but now there's some Viper that goes in here. So first of all, make sure you have a concave. That's kind of the easiest thing to note. And second of all, make sure you have an upgrade at the same level as your opponent, which was almost not the case, but there it is finishing up now for Elazer. And then there's also some Corrosive Biomarker that can go down, but Elazer finds the high ground with a concave on top of Nerchio's very weak, undefended 4th base. So that should be going down, and Nerchio can't really do much about it, but if he takes a bad fight and loses his 4th base, then that's so much worse.
Yep. He's getting some great harass behind it, though. So I don't know if that's equalizing, but it's doing good. Corrosive Bile is connecting a little bit there, but not so fully. Again, a good fight for Elazer, though. He's on the low ground, yes, but they both have concaves, but if he can win that fight there, he's going to start killing drones, which will, of course, affect the economy even further.
I think that's going to happen. He has had a bigger bank behind this. Despite losing those 10 drones, he's still at 62. And while maybe this doesn't snowball to victory, it does take a much better fight. Nerchio just unable to get a great fight, is getting remaxed upon. So Elazer has 26 roaches on the way. Nerchio only with 5 right now is quite weak looking.
He does have a bank, though. It's more of a larva availability thing. That's one of the things that's kind of funny about these early game exchanges. If you can kill a 3rd or 4th, yes, of course, the mining capacity is a big deal, but also just the access to making stuff.
Unlike, maybe the last game where we did eventually have lurkers to help defend, this is just the Roach Ravager defense. So maybe, Corrosive Biles can buy you a lot of time so you can get maxed out. Again, to your point, it's a larva issue, so he's just waiting for that to pop. It can be difficult to just beat out solid numbers, right? Roach versus Roach is often if I have 10 more than you, maybe I'm just going to win here.
Corrosive Bile is being dodged again, but it's going to be Elazer showing up with just a much bigger army supply and that killer instinct to say, I believe that to be the case. I'll push in. Some drones coming off the line, but that just means they'll die. And while, yes, Nerchio's fighting for his life and trying to win some space, it's that immediate damage that's happening over the hatchery that gives me concern. Drones are actually dying in the background. 11 have died, 15 in favor of Elazer. And I think this will snowball this time as the reinforcements are now coming on top of that weakened Nerchio army. It should be curtains.
And the larva problem was really big here because maybe this is some situation where he's only down 15. Actually, he's only down 20 army supply right now, so maybe it's even a little bit closer. But that 4th base going down did contribute to that. He's still only on 50 workers as he gets his 4th base back up. He's also going to be down an upgrade. Plus 2 characters is kind of almost like an accessory upgrade. Doesn't actually change any kill shot, I believe. But Still nice to have, and well, so much for that 4th base and the drones there.
Yeah.
He does have burrows, so he's gonna go ahead and save those. That's nice. It's nice.
It's nice.
Oh, that's the whole army being moved there. So now the 3rd base is open.
And this is just the math of StarCraft, right? Like, when you fall this far behind, you can go ahead and corner the army of Elazer like you just did, and you'll kill him, and just on paper, that was good, but it wins this positioning, which means it's bad, but it's bad because you're so far behind. So Nerchio is only down 45 supply or so, and he's hanging in here. But like I just said, basically every choice that is made from here on out from Elazer can only be right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a frustrating thing for Nerchio to subject himself to, but a lot of players do this.
And unfortunately, his tunneling claws never really made an appearance. He had 4 roaches that ran across the map that did an okay amount, but hasn't been able to use it since. Elazer immediately saw the graphical upgrade and went into an Overseer to make sure he didn't get pounced upon, and is doing pretty well to guard himself against any of those comeback mechanics. Like getting spine crawlers in his mineral line is a very good thing to do, so he can just focus entirely on this push, which is now up a ramp against Corrosive Bile, so maybe he won't be able to break Nerchio.
There's another fight happening.
But there's another fight happening.
Yeah, and he's winning that one. And it's just the positioning again, so Nerchio has to pull army over here, which then gives up the ramp, which means that he's going to evenly trade over there. And as we've been coloring and talking about quite a bit here, he cannot afford to do so. So he burrows the drones to try and buy some time, and then he feeds into a trade that will be favorable for Elazer for days.
Yeah. We always have to like kind of check ourselves and look at that army supply, because every time Elazer has moved into Nerchio, he's only maybe had a 10 army supply lead. I think maybe once it was 20, but then sometimes it's actually been even, as Nerchio is not replacing his drones. Obviously over time that's terrible, but it has been keeping him afloat. It just gets more and more terrible as time goes on, and Elazer eventually could just be like, you know what, you have 3 bases, only one of them is really mining anyways, let me advance my tech, give it something that can really kill you if he starts to get frustrated, or he could try and just continue to overwhelm.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The army supply has not been that different. But 30 workers is 30 workers. As a famous English Protoss used to say, money is money. His name is Bling.
Oh.
And it speaks here. What's that?
I was thinking there's like only one English Protoss I can think of.
Bling, right?
Yeah, you're right. Just that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
No. He is now a exotic drink server in Spain.
Is that really his title? I thought he was like an Instagram model, to be honest.
Oh no, I'm making this very PG right now.
Oh, right. Okay. So.
I like when you ask questions and I get to be what I want to be, but it's because you asked. So, and it's also what's actually happening. I'm not even making that up. So.
Yeah.
These StarCraft people go off and do very different things, man. We're unique people.
Yeah, some people, become poker players, and other people do other things.
That's right.
So, Nerchio is now down 20 supply, still down in that upgrade, and still facing an economy that he cannot really beat. But dang, he's not gonna give up.
No, man. Nerchio's like the original bad GG time guy. Like he spent years not GGing, so I guess it makes sense. It's kind of hard for him to figure out when to do it. But like you said, the army supplies are similar, so it's kind of frustrating on the Elazer side, because the Elazer's like, someone took him to a wall and they're like, this is 6 feet of concrete, we need you to break it down. He's like, well, I have the tools. And they're like, cool, but if you like spent some time upgrading those tools, it'd be really quick. And he's like, no, I'll just keep hammering away. And they're like, all right, but it's gonna take you a while. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's what he's been doing, he's just chipping away. Every time they fight, it's slightly better for him. You can see he's now 200 versus 130. He's up 40 some odd army supply, but he's going up a ramp against Corrosive Bile. I think actually now Nerchio's been thinned out too much.
He was waiting on some Corrosive Biles, but even if 5 more were there, I don't think it matters for this much, for being able to get up that ramp, unless he had some lurkers about to finish magically.
Nerchio, for God's sakes.
It's out. It's done. You're out. You're done. It's just
make him eliminate every single building.
Make him a lemonade?
Eliminate every building.
Oh.
But you heard lemonade, so might want to check yourself for a stroke, I guess.
I thought you were going to try and mix in like a make lemonade out of lemons thing.
No.
Nope.
It wasn't that weird. It was just speaking StarCraft, eliminate and battles and all that.
Okay.
It is tough. Sometimes I do say stuff like lemonade or whatever, but not this time.
No, that was entirely on me.
Our mind's dull there a little bit at the end. It's like...
Maybe a little. We watched 7 Roach battles.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be favored for Elazer, and yet still Nerchio just kept kicking on. And if, like, seriously, if he was able to get maybe a few more drones in some of those earlier battles kept alive, or if he had, again, magically been able to make it to lurkers, that's where the comebacks seriously do happen. And that previous game on year 0 was all about Nerchio just saying, like, you know what? I got my bases, and I'm going to defend. So please over-invest into this. It's just that this was such a drastic difference.
Well, he kept doing what he could. Like, we were asking for more tech, but Nerchio didn't have the choice. Like, if he spends any money teching, he just dies because he was already down 30 supply in each of the fights. So you make that into like 50, and it's not even close. But he was splintering off roaches, getting some harass done, doing the run-bys that he could, getting some damage. It's just that in this ZvZ at this level, he fell so far behind that Elazer would have to just absolutely fall in his face for Nerchio to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't blame, you know, we make our jokes, but Nerchio staying in there, sure, do it, man. Like, imagine coming back from there. It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, that'd be a good story to tell. But now we're going to go to the ace match because he wasn't able to make it a comeback story. And that was a very, until the last like 5 battles where we kind of had to go over the same exact point over and over again.
Yeah.
It was also kind of a standard ZvZ where the difference was Elazer did not invest in its Tunneling Claws and Burrow, which overall isn't too expensive, but it is something, and got that dominant position on that high ground. And it just very quickly turned on its head despite being otherwise pretty even.
Yeah.
And that's where Elazer, I said, maybe he feels more confident the more straight up it is, and he kind of regrets playing a little unorthodox in the first game.
Maybe. Elazer's asked for a second here as we are about to get ready. But after this, it'll be a short break, and then we'll be back with WCS America. And it's kind of funny because this group is your typical, like, this is where we get our memes out. We start joking. But it's also got Dario in it. It's got a young German married into Canada playing in the Americas.
Yep.
Look at him go.
It's the real love story. It's the real movie of StarCraft right there.
Yeah.
And he's also working with, like, the AI officer. Yeah.
Which he's exactly the guy that I would think too, right?
Yes.
A German scientist guy working with the AI. Come on. Like,
oh, I wasn't going that way. I was thinking more like, smart.
he calls himself Dr. Dario.
players. Yeah. But he's super creative, which is kind of like anti-AI, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point. But that's the wily German scientist that would do it. He was like wearing Birkenstocks and socks, and
Those German scientists always thinking outside the box.
they are.
Where is it going to lead us? Who knows?
I love it. I love that it's all a little quiet right now too, right on the deep mine front. We haven't heard from it a little bit, but their plan is still for later this year for there to be more, I believe, without speaking. I don't have any authority, so I'm not declaring that. But from what I understand, there's going to be more. And maybe we'll have Cyril versus one of the final forms of AI as well. That'd be kind of cool.
Maybe playing his actual race, or that would be quite a test for the AI. That would.
Whoop.
That was the keyboard.
Yeah. No, I didn't break the table.
I mean, I don't know when broke it over there.
Yeah, Elazer literally said sec, and then it's just been quiet in the lobby.
They really mean min, but sec you can write on the left side of the keyboard.
Yeah.
So
That's a guy thing. Guys say that all the time. Like, if you're like, where are you at? Are you on your way? And they're like, yeah, I'm on my way. And they're like, haven't left their house yet. And guys do that quite a bit.
is that a guy thing?
I've been
say that's
told.
almost
Now,
always
here's
a woman
anything you
thing.
see on the internet, we're like, it's a guy. They're like, no! I know everyone does it. It's like, okay, yes. Point is, I know I'll just keep it safe. I'm guilty of this all the time.
Because I was.
Hey, you said you'd be here at 5:30. Where are you at? I'm like, I'm leaving now. I'm like,
It's always like the stereotype that the woman's like, yeah, I'm almost ready. I just have to pick out my outfit and do my makeup and my hair and.
well, the stereotype's definitely they leave late, but I don't know that they say that they're on their way out.
Okay, that's a good point. Maybe
You know what
that
I'm
is
saying?
the difference here.
Here's everybody's picture from 2014,
Yes.
and we're in the game.
The matches are talent announcements.
I think there's no way for ZvZ in the next group, though, by the way. So in our defense, this was like, let's get it out of the way. Like, there's Dario, and I think he's the only Zerg.
Yes, I think that's correct. And then 2 Protoss and a Terran.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay.
Balance like all things should be.
I like ZvZ, but maybe a couple of these have gone on for quite some time.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, Harston woke up and decided to try to get as much camera time as possible in his 4 or 5 games or whatever it was.
Yes, exactly. Well, what's Cyber 4 is going to look like? In the top left, as the Red Zerg, bringing it back to the ace match, it is Elazer. I shouldn't say ace match. That's only for team games.
Did someone tell you that?
Yes, you can probably guess who told me that. Really, really dig deep there, Control.
Ravi?
No, no. Imagine someone who tweets a lot and maybe usually is in charge of the ticker.
Oh, God. No. Was he being serious?
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I looked it up and it was like, there's not actually like official definition, and language evolved. Casted isn't a word either.
Well, before I go into my analysis, I have to introduce this, otherwise production will start yelling at me. In the lower right-hand side, from Poland, he wears his socks and his sandals. It's Nerchio. One of my favorite theories and philosophers was Foucault, I believe it was, who talked about the vampirism of language, where, yes, it's basically a very fancy way of saying language evolves over time, but also sometimes words basically hijack the meaning of other words and destroy them.
Yeah.
And if you say ace match in a world where we don't even have team games that have ace matches anymore, you are helping further along the destruction of what that word used to mean. Isn't that interesting?
That is
But you're doing it not knowing that. That's why it's vampiric. It's parasitic.
Okay, all right. I mean, is that the same as like people pushing the word irregardless?
Yeah, or flammable, which is one of my favorite, or inflammable, right?
Right. I mean, yeah.
That whole thing. I will like write out a text, get to one of those words, and then be like, wait, and then not want to sound like an idiot, so I just use a different word because I'm not sure what to do there.
I absolutely do that.
Yeah.
I definitely learn words as I read them instead of hear them. So there's definitely been times where I've been like, I wanted to say something and I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's pronounced that way.
Yep.
Yeah, and a different word. Here we go.
I think there's a funny psychological study we could do on the effects of public casting and commentating. Because for me, a big thing is I'll have people message me straight up angry that I misused a word, like really mad. And the way I was raised is if someone feels that passionately about something, I naturally assume they're correct. I'll just be like, oh yeah, I don't know the answers, so oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then I'll try to do better. And then later someone will be like, no, that's not how you use that at all. And I'll be like, what? And I'll go look at it. And it is either like they're both right and wrong because it can mean both things, or one of them's just clearly wrong.
Right.
And it's at that weird moment where I have this like gigantic saturation of apathy where I'm like, when people message me just so upset that I got something wrong, I should probably assume they're wrong. Which creates like a circle of, ignorance.
Yes, that's what would happen. I know there was a Reddit thread asking why casters say army of X instead of X army.
Like, who thinks about that?
I was like, is that really something that you think about? Like, it's not an unnatural thing to say, though. It's like, it's still proper English, right? Like, it's a little more awkward, sure, but...
You just got yourself 5 tweets from people who are going to tell you the answer. But yeah, you're right. That's the part. I was thinking to myself how funny that is. Like, why did casters say the army of instead of so-and-so's army? I'm like... And you know what? Without opening that, because I didn't, I know that there's a discussion of possession and language in English about, like, do they own the army that they're utilizing, or is it their army that they've, like, put forth? And there's going to be someone who's like, hey, listen, I'm 17 years old, but I've been Googling since I was 12. So, like, I have the answer here, and I'm like...
Oh, I love it. So it was actually a nice thread. People were just like, I guess they just...
It was a nice thread?
Yeah, it was fun.
That's good.
I know, it's always a little surprising. So, we had...
As long as the free-for-all's not involved, I guess.
We had a very similar... Well, I mean, a little similar, I suppose, the last game. Faster layers for both players, but they both went into +1 missile, kind of skipping entirely on that Ling-Baneling scuffle. They both took it seriously, and the only difference really here is Elazer has got Overlord speed on the way.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, we're staring over the cliff edge of either Nerchio makes it out, which is an incredible story, it's a huge result for him, or Elazer is eliminated by Nerchio, a fellow countryman. And that's devastatingly bad for him. So whoever wins here, this is a big deal. We did have Speed Overlord finishing here in a few moments for Elazer, which typically means he's going to go into those drop lords. It did not work out. And I assume you're oohing versus about the Spire here?
I am indeed.
It is a new moment.
Yes. It's actually going to be maybe difficult for... Well, so Elazer has an Overlord, like Overseer coming in right now.
Look at how fast
this should be able to see it. Like he's the one that got Overlord speed. Maybe I said it reversed in the beginning, but yeah, Lazer's only got overload speed, and that is definitely gonna scout it. Changing.
For a second, it started changing direction. I was like, no.
Yeah. So the thing is that Spire isn't a very committed to Spire, right? It's something that you like build spine crawlers to defend and hope they never attack you. Like he is also going into his own roaches, and at least into his own +2. But it is another investment, like a tunneling clause, right? That like maybe 200 overall doesn't sound like a lot. If you don't make mutas, it can sometimes be a big deal. It certainly takes away that second upgrade that Elazer will absolutely have. And
what did you think it cost?
200.
It's 200, 150.
Aspire, really?
I'm almost certain of it.
Really?
But I'm actually certain of it, but it's one of those things where I'll never commit to full knowledge because online you can't.
Oh, I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, you said it wrong. So internet, don't worry, I got her this time, okay? You guys can put your phones down. Whoa! Almost had her get away with that one. Yeah, look it up.
That would have been terrible.
Because like I said, I have no confidence in anything. Like I say that,
I'm just
pretty
gonna tweet
sure.
at you that you're wrong, like with a lot of passion.
It would shake me up enough. If that's the result you want, it would shake me up.
It is 200.
God dang it. It is I. It is I that is
You're
wrong.
the guy that did that.
Yeah.
You said it so passionately.
Well, no, I'm the original guy. I'm like the first. So like in the Blade movies, you know, they have the original vampire come out. He's pretty cool, but he still dies like a easy vampire dude. That's me.
Okay.
I'm the original.
Gotcha.
Before there were even phones, I used to send a messenger pigeon to people. There's like Cleopatra would give her speech, and she'd like mispronounce Diocletes or something like that, and I'd send out a messenger pigeon and be like, no, you got that wrong. And then she'd try to have me executed, and I wouldn't. You know, it's this whole thing. Anyways, Nerchio's showing up here outside the 4th base. Behind this, he's got his own 4th up and going, but he's actually down in workers by 3. Not a big deal. Good concave here. Difference in tech is going to be those Hydras, but they don't have Corrosive Bile, Zombie Grub.
No, they kind of got hit by some of them, too. If that Roach layer is dissolved, the Hydras will go down fairly easily. Woo! Especially as Nerchio... Oh, no, actually, he's not continuing to reinforce. He pulls back, deciding that's not going to go in his favor.
Yeah.
And I guess he was right. Elazer did have those fast reinforcements. He was starting to win that. So that's a good pull back there. Nerchio will start his, has started his +1 Carapace.
Yeah.
It will be done eventually, but now he's got another tech issue, which is lurkers. So.
This is the part of the commentary where if we had been able to afford Tastosis, he would start, Tasteless in particular, start using really big words like sophistication and like late game tech development and R&D. Like he would just, basically he'd go on for about 7 minutes to describe this concept, which is when you attack with Roach Ravager like that, that's cool, but if you only have roaches to keep making, your opponent's switching into lurkers, you are fighting, you know, with brick and mortar weapons versus now machine guns and that kind of thing. It's a bad place to be.
Yes, I think that's what he would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me though.
No. So
I'd keep it succinct like I just did. You know what I mean?
Yes, very. Yes. Elazer does actually take some damage here because the top side, that 4th base, just got hit hard.
Yeah.
15 drones go down, and the base goes down with no accessory upgrade needed. Like, there is not Tunneling Claws, there wasn't a Nidus Worm. That was just good old-fashioned having roaches kind of just not go as far back as I guess the Elazer was thinking, and he is missing the Overlord coverage because of the Spire.
Oh, wow. Good point.
Yeah, how that works.
Look at how that affected this game.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, you can have the better tech and the better weapons, but if in this moment right now where Nerchio is stronger, he can really get as far ahead as he can, then I guess that's nullified, right? Like, he's up a base. Roach Ravager is strong right now because there's no lurkers out. And if Elazer wants to just fight and trade against a higher supply army, Nerchio would say, be my guest.
Yeah. Yeah, Nerchio, I mean, it's great that he got that 4th base, but he is facing an army that's going to utilize its minerals and gas a bit better.
Look at the clamp potential, sorry, is on the grub. The surround. The surround. It's both players, though. It's like the Elazer's got the surround right now. Nerchio's retreating, but that opens the spot for this army in the southern part.
Yes, it does. Nerchio is actually playing this game really well. This is what you got to do. Like, your army is going to lose in a direct head-to-head fight most of the time, but you can pull Elazer apart, and Elazer is going to lose 10 more drones, maybe a lurker here. Now it's only 1 Corrosive Bile, but he's going to lose the 3rd base hatch, bringing him down to 2 base mining on 48 workers, so his army better be good.
And he's pursuing into rallied roaches. He cannot do it. He's not going to get ran back here, but the base dies. The third is only just now getting close to finishing here over here. And by close, I mean it's about 25% away from finishing, or a little bit more. Elazer tucks tail and pulls back, and here's the effects of that. He's not going to be upgrading anymore. He is not at Hive Tech as far as I can tell. And Nerchio, again, he's a little tunnel vision. So this game's not over yet. I would definitely say Nerchio's ahead here and could win. But he is still just making roaches. So if enough lurkers come out and they lock down these positions, and Elazer's back to 4 bases, it starts to look a lot better for Elazer.
Elazer does have the army that will hold on limited bases and limited income, though. Like, as long as the lurkers are in that decent number, and as long as they're done and planted, which finally they finish up, after a lot of roach buffers already gone, and Corrosive Biles, of course, can try and take those out. 2 fights going okay, I guess. Like, this actually is not so bad. It was getting really, really scary, but those lurkers end up holding, as they should. And, well, maybe I spoke too soon. Nothing to protect these ones over here. There's the army.
Yeah, every lurker that dies is very expensive. Hydrogen coming out for Nerchio, so that is going to be his tech path, and he can go towards lurkers as well. But with all these fights, he's not really utilizing it just yet, is Nerchio, but he does not, you know, you could take a 5th base. He could, he has map control, right? It's a smaller size map, though, so I can totally understand why he's not, like, super investing in that.
Yeah. He also,
oh, wow.
He's having to remax a little bit every now and again, right? So maybe just, again, worried more about the momentum that he has.
Oh, the other base, too.
Yeah, the other base under attack. We're starting to run low on lurkers. I believe there was like 8 to begin with. Now we're down to 5, and that's something Elazer's got to keep track of, but he really can't afford to remake them, even if he realizes he's only down to like 3 or 2.
Can't chase that much. He keeps chasing, and it's like the rally of roaches will always make it so that fight turns in favor of Nerchio.
Oh, God. Oh, my gosh.
Oops. And you know what? I don't even think he should have taken this path. I think he's still okay.
Oh,
he's gonna cut off that chunk of army.
Yeah, that's trapped. That is trapped. That's huge. That's, I mean, more so than just straight up units dying.
And Elazer's investing in trying to defend this. Like, he cannot.
Yeah, this is bad. It was also protecting any of the lurkers he had, because there's so few of them again. Elazer is losing this game. There was one brief moment where he was up in, you know, decent amount of supply. He had 4, well, he was going to 4 bases.
Yeah.
And then he did that overextension thing. And a couple times, more than a couple times, he's had Hydras specifically on the front line. So he's been losing the more expensive units as well.
Yep.
It's still a case where maybe Elazer takes one great fight with lurkers, but Nerchio is pulling him apart.
I think so. And I think it's, again, I definitely agree with the overextension, but at the same time, Elazer's been behind for like a solid, like since the tech paths kind of cleared out. I talked about it being really favorable for Elazer, but I got ahead of myself. Like, that's later. That's if you get developed with lurkers. But if you just keep fighting and keep chasing Nerchio all the way back to his base, only to then lose that fight to roaches and ravagers, you never have the insulation to protect your bases to get to lurker tech safely. So Elazer's just been falling behind this whole time.
Now, Nerchio does take a little chill pill here, right? This is what Elazer didn't do in the last game. He just continued to tear Nerchio apart and never went for his own lurkers. But Nerchio is, so, I mean, his supply is pretty decent, but it is once again similar. So maybe he doesn't win this battle. His Corrosive Bios do knock down those lurkers, so at least a few of them are contributing to it. But what an awkward fight as Elazer is pushing through his own hatchery. He is going to win it, though. At least push Nerchio off temporarily. And Nerchio, if he takes time to build lurkers, that's time Elazer is mining off of 4 bases and remaking his own.
Good job by Elazer. He's only down 7 workers, and he does get himself back into this position like you talked about. With Corrosive Bile and Ravagers out there, he still can't fully and freely, well, I mean, as I say this, it's
this might be...
kind of feel like he can. Never mind.
He's overextended a few times, and this might be the right call. He is not getting hit from behind. He's actually, he knows where the entire army is, and he is getting his lurkers into really great positions. Uh-oh.
Wait a second. Oh, the Corrosive Biles. Okay. Yeah, he's on top of this base. The Hydra on the high ground. The lurkers have pushed forward. Nerchio abandons the base.
Good call.
20 supply for Elazer. Wow.
He brought it back. That was very scary.
And now he's winning. He's absolutely winning.
Yes, he is. Nerchio has the ability to make his own lurkers, but now he's in the position that Elazer was, where he desperately needs to get to them to hold the line. We are in a situation where Hydras are actually, they have no buffer, basically, so they are dying. Glass cannons, right? But the lurkers supporting them might just be enough as Nerchio down 20 supply here. He was dominating for a lot of this game, the last 5 minutes, and it's all turned it around on him.
This turned around real quick. And with the lurkers at the base of this ramp, and the resupply coming in, and now the detection gone, I don't see anything other than just every base dies. And Nerchio can't get down there to deal with it. He's got to make an overseer. He's got to make units that can fight those 2 roaches. And even if he does all those things, these Hydras are going to clean house at the 1 healthy mining base of Nerchio.
Oh, wow. That's how this is going to end. Nerchio, I believe also there was a time where he didn't have an overseer, and that contributed to Elazer being able to push as aggressively as he did. But, oh, that was such a close battle at the end, too. If there were a couple more corrosive bile shots or 10 more roaches, that could have been very different. But he's down to, well, he's actually still on 4 hatcheries, I suppose, but he's down to 32 workers.
I mean, I don't know. This is exactly where Elazer was, though, a few moments ago. Upgrade still slightly in favor of Nerchio, but I think the problem here is that, yes, he's on 4 hatches, but I don't see any reason why Elazer lets off the gas. Like, his army goes back to the 4th. He should make his way back over here fairly. I mean, he should. Basically, like, let him think he can drone, and then let's turn this back around.
Yeah, I think
he's not making drones himself, as Elazer.
The position that Elazer, like, the tough part for him kind of happened when he was still at 55 drones, right? 3 bases earlier on when you still were mining from all those bases. This is a different scenario, even though it is the same, like, okay, well, Nerchio's got to be the defensive. He's got to be the one that brings the comeback here. But it's, his initial 2 bases really aren't even mining. He's at worse.
And he doesn't have lurkers.
Count.
That's a big deal.
Exactly. And even though he can make lurkers, he really can't. That's it.
No GG. Okay. That was fantastic for Elazer, and it's a gut punch. It's a tough one. Like, Nerchio came 1, and he was ahead. Like, we can do that thing where casts are so wrong, you can roll your eyes. No, Nerchio was way ahead. He overcommitted to a concave fight over at that 3rd base, and the burrowed lurkers were just able to win out enough that by the time he turned away to run, and this is something Zombie Grub was pointing out at the same time, he was also teching to lurkers, which was that weak moment that happened in reverse for Elazer. Like, when you're making the den, when you're making the upgrades, and you're not using those units, or there's just a couple of them anyways, there's this huge power vacuum that occurs, and that was all it took. Elazer with a sick defense held on and won, and he will advance in 2nd place behind Serral, which I think if it was either Elazer or Hearthstone, that's kind of what you expect. It could have been Nerchio, and kudos to him, but it will be Elazer. Yeah,
I think that was spot on. Exactly what Elazer was very close to fumbling, being overly aggressive. But in that one snap decision to go, like, you know what? You don't have enough. I am going to push you. That was what contributed to the victory, at least being as swift as it was. Maybe it could have been a very long game had he not had that bloodthirst. But it was correct. He takes the 2-1. He advances with Serral, and that's going to be it for Group A of WCS Spring EU Challenger. But if you're like, I need more StarCraft, there's not enough things happening. There's actually so many things happening this weekend, guys. There's actually more, so don't go anywhere. Just a quick overlook on what happened today. Serral takes the 2-0, 4-0 in maps, kind of what we expect, right? And Elazer barely claws his way in there for 2nd. And then the maybe big surprise was Hearthstone's performance in general. Not that he's last place, was a tough group, but just in general, I was kind of surprised by the Protoss play we saw.
It was tough. He went into it with some ideas, and it didn't pan out this time.
Yes, yeah. I guess the idea to go in a late game versus Zerg was the idea that didn't pan out. Yeah.
Back to the drawing board.
Yes. So that's 2 Zergs that advance in Europe. Well, you wouldn't be surprised.
Wow. It's caster bias.
I know.
You should take us to commercial break.
I think we should. Yes. Guys, when we come back, it'll be WCS Spring NA Challenger Group A. See you soon.